Hey guys, Melissa here with Lovable Loops. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you guys how to crochet a market tote. As you can see from the thumbnail photo, this market tote has a mesh-like appearance to it. It's very sturdy. I'm using this number 4 cotton yarn, the sugar and cream in the color Overcast. You're also going to need a J6mm crochet hook, some locking stitch markers, a tapestry needle, and a pair of scissors. Okay, to begin, we are going to take our yarn and our crochet hook. You're going to make a slip knot. And we're going to chain 40 plus 2. That plus 2 is going to be our turning chain when we do the first round of the bag. So we're going to start by making the base of the bag, the bottom of the bag, and then we will work our way around and then up the sides, okay? So go ahead and chain 42, 1, 2. So that was 40, 41, 42. Okay, so now we have our beginning chain. So now what I'm going to do, sorry, I had to move my camera here. Okay, so those 2 extras, I had 40 plus 2. Those 2 are going to be our turning chains. You're going to give us the height for this first row. So you're going to yarn over, skip over those first 2, the 2 chains that are closest to the hook. You're going to skip over those 2, and in your 3rd chain from your hook, you're going to make 2 half double crochet. So that's 1 and 2, okay, in that first chain. Now you're going to do the same thing in that 2nd chain there. You're going to make 2 half double crochet, 1 and 2. Now what's going to happen here is, oh my gosh, we are going to we're going to work down our chain like you would anytime you start anything that's going to have a straight edge, right? However, when we get down here, we're going to turn and we're going to work into the back of those chains. And that is what's going to create our oval to create the base of the bag, okay? So it just helps me at the end. So the ends are going to be where we do our increases, right? Because in the middle, we're just going straight back and forth, but the ends are where we're going to have our increases. So you'll have increases on the very end stitches here. So what I like to do is put a stitch marker on that last half double crochet increase I just made. So I had 2 and 2 just to help me count my stitches in between. So now I know when I make these stitches in the middle here and I count them, I do not count the stitch with the stitch marker, okay? It's just the ones that come after that. So we have 2 increases, and an increase again is just when we put 2 stitches into 1 stitch. So we increase that stitch from 1 to 2. Now you're going to half double crochet in 36 stitches. The chains are hard to crochet into. It'll be much easier when we have stitches to work into. So now I know when I go to count my 36 stitches, I do not count this one. I start with this stitch here. So you're just making 1 half double crochet in each chain. And then when you think you've reached 36, stop and count them. And then every once in a while, just pull your work to make sure it's nice and straight. Okay. Okay. So remember, we did a chain of 40 plus 2. So that plus 2 was a turning chain, so it didn't count towards the number of chains that we can work into. So at the beginning, we used 2 of those 40 for increases. We are going to leave 2 at the end for increases, which means in the middle, we have 36. So I'll put this back on. 1, 2, 3, 4, just to show you while I'm counting here. So I should have 36 stitches here from here to here, okay? So I'm not counting this one. This is an increase. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36. Perfect. So now in my next 2 chains, I'm making increases. We are going to make 2 half double crochet in each of those 2 chains. One and 2. And now on this side, I would like to put my stitch marker on the first increase. And you'll see what I like to do is I like to put it on the first and the last. That way it's very easy on each side to count the stitches in between. So there I have 2. So I have 1 more stitch remaining, or chain remaining here, where I'm going to also make 2 half double crochet. Okay. I am going to remove the stitch marker down here just because it is so noisy. All right, now you're going to turn your work. And now this can be hard the first time you do it because it can be confusing, like where your chains are. But these 2 stitches right here were just made into the last chain. So that hole right there is the back side of the chain where we're going to work 2 half double crochet. So we are turning our work and now going this way. We're going to use the first 2 chains, the backs of the first 2 chains, to do increases, okay? This will make more sense after we complete this first round. So now, just going to continue working my way around. I'm going to into the back of that chain there, and just pull your yarn tail out of the way. I'm going to make 2 half double crochet. And then in that next chain spot, I'm going to make another increase, another 2 double crochet, half double crochet, sorry. Okay, so as you can see, here on the front side, we did 2 increases, and then we did 2 increases over here as well. So each row, again, in the middle, there's no increases, but on the ends, you are going to be making 1, 2, 3, 4 increases. 1, 2, and then at the end, we'll make 1, 2, okay? I hope this makes sense. So this was the last increase of the end, so the first increase and the last. And now I'm going to make an additional 36, just like here, on the back side, 36 half double crochet, okay? Into the backs of those chain spaces. Okay, so let me count them. So now again, I'll put the stitch marker back on so it's easier for you to see. So this was my last increase. Okay, you can see there are 2 stitches in that chain. So now I'm going to count the remaining stitches in this row and make sure that it is 36. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36. Okay, so now in these last 2 chains here, and actually since there's already stitches on the other side, it's easier to see. Those 2 spots are where you're going to make your 2 increases. So 1 and 2. And again, this is the first increase of this side. So I'm going to put a blocking stitch marker there, and then I'm going to make an additional 2 half double crochet in the back of this last chain here. 1 and 2, okay? And so now I have 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2. All right, but this is the end of round 1. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to join with a slip stitch to the top of the first half double crochet. And I want you to see what happens here when I do that. So right now you can see this is my last stitch, okay? This is the last stitch of round 1. But when I join, it's going to make it look, and maybe not to you, but I think it often looks like another stitch. So I'm pulling my yarn through to join, and then it kind of looks like that is your last stitch. That loop that showed up when I joined, that is not your last stitch. So please try to remember that for the remaining rounds. You need to be very careful and count your stitches and make sure you're working into the correct stitches, because if you work into that, that's not a stitch and it will mess up your project. Okay, from here, you're going to chain 2. We are now beginning round 2. So we just made our slip stitch into that first stitch. We are also going to work into that same stitch, okay? This chain 2 will never count as your first stitch, okay? That does not count. So we are going to make 2 half double crochet in that same first stitch that we joined to. 1, 2, and now I'm going to do the same thing in the next one. 1, 2. And what's going to happen is, for each round, the first 2 and the last 2 stitches of each round will be increases, and then the 4 stitches down here at the very end will become increases. And what happens is these number of stitches in between will grow, okay? So we're only doing, let's see here, 1, 2, 8 increases each round. There are 8 stitches, 4 on each end, that are increase stitches. But the stitches in between, we are still just working 1 stitch into each stitch, but the number of stitches between the ends will grow as the oval grows. I hope this is making sense. So we just began round 2. We made 2 increases. So now I'm going to put a stitch marker on this stitch here. And now I need to make half double crochets in 40 stitches, okay? So you've made, I'm going to take this stitch marker off down here. So you've done 2 increases, and now we're making half double crochets in 40 stitches. right, I think that might be 40 stitches. So let me see here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is my last increase. So now I'm going to count these remaining stitches. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 39. I have one more half double crochet to make. So that's 40. And now in the next 2 stitches, I'm going to make 2 half double crochet. 1 and 2. I'm going to put a stitch marker there. That's my first increase. So just real quick, this is the last increase here at the beginning, the first for this end, and in between I have 40 half double crochet. This is round 2, okay? So I just did 1 increase. Now I'm going to make 2 half double crochet in the next stitch. 1 and 2. Now remember, in the 4 stitches on the ends, we are doing increases. So I just did my last 2 increases for the front, and now I'm going to go ahead and do the 2 increases for the back side, okay? So in the next 2 stitches, I'm making 2 half double crochet in each. So 1, 2, and 1 and 2. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 sets of increases, which is 2, 4, 6, 8 stitches. So this is now the last increase stitch for the end. So I'm going to put a stitch marker there, which I will end up taking off because it will get too noisy, but I'm hoping this is helping you guys. So now in the next 40 stitches on the back side, I'm also going to make a half double crochet, okay? Okay, I think that might be 40. Let me put this stitch marker back on here. So this was my last increase stitch. Okay. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40. Awesome. Now it looks like, maybe it looks like to you, there's 3 more stitches, but remember, this is not a stitch. This is that loop that was created when we did our join. So these are the last 2 stitches right here. So in each of those last 2 stitches, you are going to make 2 half double crochet. Oh my gosh, sorry about that. And actually, I'll put it down here. So I'm going to put it here on the first half double crochet. Remember, I like to have it on the first and then the last one that's made, just so those 8 stitches on the end, I know that those are the increases. It just helps me. So first increase, and then this is the second increase. 1 and 2. Okay. All right, we're going to join with a slip stitch to the top of that first half double crochet, which is right here. All right, and we just completed round 2. Round 3 is going to be the last round for the bottom of the bag. The bottom of the bag is going to be fairly narrow and it's going to be tall. I'm really excited about the design of this bag. To begin round 3, once again, you are going to chain 2, and in that same stitch that you joined 2, you're going to do an increase, which means you're going to make 2 half double crochet. Okay, and then in that next stitch, you're going to do the same thing again, 2 half double crochet. And I will put a stitch marker on that last increase that was made, and now I'm going to half double crochet into 44 stitches. Okay, all right, I'm going to put my stitch marker back on that last increase down here, 1, 2, 3, 4, just to help me count. So now I should have 44 stitches in between. So I have 1, 2, excuse me, this is the last increase, sorry. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, 42, 44. Perfect. So in my next 2 stitches, I'm going to make 2 half double crochet in each of those next 2 stitches. Just like we've been doing for the first couple rounds. 1 and 2, and then on that first increase, wait, that looks kind of weird. I don't know what I did there. 1, 2. Okay, that looks better. All right, so that's my first increase stitch. 1, 2, and then in that next stitch, 1 and 2. Okay, I'm going to remove this stitch marker down here because it's so noisy. All right, so now we did those 2 increases for the front side, so now we got to do them for the back. So once again, in the next 2 stitches, you're going to make increases. 2 half double crochet. 1, 2, and 1 and 2. All right. You may begin to notice that it feels like your stitches are shifting. So what I mean by that is, let's put a stitch marker here. This is the last increase. It's not exactly even, right? Like if it was even, it would be moved over more like this way, but it's not. And likewise down here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Our increase stitches for the back side would be starting here. So if we could shift that, it would be perfectly oval. But it actually ends up working out for whatever reason, and it will be a perfect oval. It's just those end increases aren't exactly centered for whatever reason, and that's okay. All right, so now once again, in the next 44 stitches, you are going to make 1 half double crochet. Okay. All right, so let me go ahead and put my stitch marker back on that last increase over here again, so it's easier to count. And now I'm going to count my stitches to make sure that I do have 44, okay? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, 42, 44. Perfect. So these last 2 stitches here, there's that loop. It looks a little smaller this time. It's not as big as it was before, which is fine. But those are the 2 stitches there. Okay, so in each of those last 2 stitches, once again, you are going to make increases. You're going to make 2 half double crochet. Okay, so now we are done with our increases, right? We're done with round 3. I'm going to put the stitch markers back on those stitches just so you can see where mine are and compare it to how yours looks. I know they're very noisy. And then on this side, the first one was that stitch. So don't be alarmed if yours looks like mine and they're slightly shifted, right? So we could take those and turn them this way a bit. They would be on the very ends, but it still works perfectly as an oval, okay? All right, so now you guys are done with the stitch markers. Take them off, set them aside. We are now going to do 2 rounds of just basic half double crochet, okay? We are not working into the back loops like I did for my other tutorial, which I can link to below. That was a different type of tote. For this one, we're just going to work once into each stitch, and we are going to make 1 half double crochet. So once again, at the end of the round, you need to join with a slip stitch. I'm going to chain 2. And by the way, at the end of round 3, you should have 104 stitches, okay? So at the ends of round 4 and 5, since we're just making 1 stitch into each stitch, no more increases, you will still have 104 stitches, okay? All right, so go ahead and get started. So again, this is round 4. You are making 1 half double crochet into each stitch all the way around. Okay, at the end of round 4, this is what your work will look like. You'll notice since we're no longer making increases, it will start to curve upwards, especially after you do your join. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's join in the round to the top of that first half double crochet, just like we've been doing. Okay, and now we are going to do another round of the same thing. We're going to do another round of just simple 1 half double crochet in each stitch. So go ahead and chain 2 and do the same thing that you just did for another round. At the end of round 5, you should still have 104 stitches. Okay, when you get to the end of round 5, go ahead and end your round by joining with a slip stitch to the top of that first half double crochet. And remember, you should still have 104 stitches. So now we're going to begin the mesh part of the bag. I'm going to switch colors for this. You don't have to switch colors. I just want to. I think it'll give the bag a cool look. So I'm going to attach my white yarn. And to do that, I haven't joined yet, okay? I'm going to pull my white yarn through that loop that's already on my hook. And then I'm going to join with a slip stitch to that first half double crochet using my white yarn. If you choose not to switch colors, just join with that whatever yarn color you were using. You're going to join just like normal, okay? All right, so here's what we're going to do. Okay, so now what we're going to do is to begin the mesh part. So we're going to chain 2. And then in that same stitch that I just joined to, I'm going to make a half double crochet. And then I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to skip a stitch, and I'm going to make a half double crochet in the next stitch. Okay, so in that same stitch I joined 2, I chained 2, I made a half double crochet, then I'm going to chain 1, skip over a stitch, and then make a half double crochet in that next stitch. And then from here, chain 1, skip a stitch, make a half double crochet in the next stitch. Okay, and you're going to repeat that pattern all the way around. So let's keep doing that together. We just made a half double crochet, so now we're going to chain 1, and we're going to skip a stitch, and then the next stitch after that, we're going to make a half double crochet. Chain 1, skip a stitch, make a half double crochet. Chain 1, skip a stitch, half double crochet. Okay, this is what your work will start to look like. It will look better in future rows. This is just the first row of the mesh, so it doesn't really look like mesh yet. All right, so again, chain 1, skip a stitch, half double crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch, half double crochet, chain 1, skip that stitch, half double crochet, and repeat that all the way around. Okay, at the end of round 6, we're going to go ahead and join with the slip stitch. Before we do that, let's go ahead and count our spaces and make sure that we should have 52 spaces now. I'm going to cut this gray yarn and get that out of my way. I don't need that right now. All right, so let's go ahead and count our spaces. All right, so this will count as your first space here. You had your chain. I believe that will count as your first space. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52. Okay, so this is your first space. I wasn't sure. Now, I think in future rows, that first space that you actually see will count as your first space, but that is not your first space. Your first space is here, and this should be your 52nd space, okay? We're going to be, rather than working into stitches now for the mesh, we're going to be working into those chain spaces, okay? So let me show you how to do that for round 7. You're going to join with a slip stitch. Let's see here. I'm going to join with the slip stitch to this space here. I'm going to chain 2. And then my first stitch is going to go into that chain space. So I joined over here, but that's not the space that I'm working into. I have my chain 2 and my first half double crochet goes into my first space. First of those 52 spaces, okay? That's where my first half double crochet goes. Chain 1 and then make your next half double crochet into that next chain space. Okay? Chain 1, make a half double crochet into your next chain space. Chain 1, half double crochet into the next space. Chain 1, half double crochet into that next space. You're going to repeat that all the way around, and let me show you what that's going to look like. Let me do one more here. You'll see it starts to create that mesh-like look. Okay. So go ahead and continue that for the remainder of the round. You're just going to chain 1 and make 1 half double crochet into each of those chain spaces, okay? Let's go ahead and complete this round on our own, then I'll meet back up with you to count the chain spaces to make sure that we are still on track with 52. And then I'm going to leave you off on your own to do the rest of the mesh rows, okay? Okay. When you get to the end of round, let's see here, this is round 7. You'll see here that your last half double crochet will go into that space there. So let's count these spaces. We should have 52. The reason we should have 52 is because we had 104 stitches and we are working into half of them because we are making chain spaces, okay? That's what gives it the mesh-like appearance. So when we get to here, that space should be number 52. So let's count them. So we from now on, we will be counting that first space, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, 42, 44, 46, 48, 50, 51, 52. Perfect. Okay. You guys are going to be doing the remainder of these mesh rows yourself. So for rounds 8 through 34, it's quite a few. Rounds 8 through 34, for each round, you're going to join with a slip stitch to this first spot, okay? Just like that. Chain 2. In that same space that you joined to, make 1 half double crochet, chain 1, and then make 1 half double crochet in the next space. And then you're going to chain 1 and continue on all the way around. My recommendation is, if you are new to crochet, I highly recommend that at the end of each round, you count your spaces, because if you make a mistake, you don't want your bag to end up being larger or smaller than we want it to be. We want the stitch count to stay the same. We want it to be consistent the whole way up the sides, okay? So I would recommend taking the time to count them. All right, but we just completed round 7 together. So now for rounds 8 through 34, you are on your own, and I will meet back up with you to show you how to do the top of the bag and the strap. Okay guys, so I just completed round 34, so I have 29 rows of mesh. So I have decided to go ahead and attach my gray yarn again. I ended up changing colors, as you can see here. You saw me change to the white, but then I ran out of white, so I changed to pink, but I want the top of the bag to be gray again. So now for round 35. So you will have joined your yarn from round 34. So for round 35, you're going to chain 2, and then we are going to make 2 half double crochet in each of those chain spaces. So remember, we had 52 chain spaces. So if we put 2 half double crochet in each of those chain spaces, we will end up with 104 half double crochet, which is what we had here. What was this, round 5, before we started the mesh, okay? So we're going to go back to that. So I just made my 2 half double crochet in that first chain space. So you're just going to go ahead and all the way around in each chain space you are making 2 half double crochet. Okay. At the end of round, what is this? Round 36, you should have 104 stitches. I'm going to count mine to make sure. Remember, we had 52 spaces. So if you put 2 half double crochet in each of those 52 spaces, you should have 104 stitches. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, 42, 44, 46, 48, 50, 52, 54, 56, 58, 60, 62, 64, 66, 68, 70, 72, 74, 76, 78, 80, 82, 84, 86, 88, 80, 90, sorry, 92, 94, 96, 98, 100, 2, 4. Awesome. All right, so now we're going to do a few more rounds of this simple half double crochet, or 2 more rounds to be exact. So for rounds 36 and 37, let me show you what you're going to do. Now we are back to working into our regular stitches. So we are going to do 2 rounds where you chain 2 and you're going to make 1 half double crochet in each stitch. Just like this. So all the way around, once in each stitch, you are going to make 1 half double crochet. So this first round that we just did was round 35. We are working on round 36. You're going to do the same thing again for round 37. So after you complete round 36, join with a slip stitch, and then again for round 37, chain 2 and make 1 half double crochet in each stitch all the way around. So you're going to now complete this round 36 off camera, and then you're going to do the same thing to complete round 37, and I will meet back up with you after. Okay, so I finished my rounds of half double crochet, and now we are going to prepare our bag for the straps. So here's what I did. You want to lay your bag flat in front of you, and what we want is on each end, we want 20 stitches to work our straps into. So I laid my work flat, and then I counted in 10 stitches, okay? I put a stitch marker there. Then I counted over 32 stitches, okay? Because if we have 20 and 20, then we're going to have 32 here and 32 there, okay? Because 32 times 2 is 64, plus 20 equals 104, which is how many stitches we have, okay? So just count in 10, put a stitch marker. Put a stitch marker after the 10th stitch. So this is 10, okay? Because the stitches between the stitch markers are the stitches that are going to be worked into. So when you're counting out your 32 stitches, this one counts as the first one, okay? And then on the 32nd, you're going to put the next stitch marker. From there, count out 20 in the middle, put a stitch marker, including, okay, so you put a stitch marker after the 20. So this is stitch 20, counting around. On the 21st stitch, you're going to put a stitch marker. Counting this stitch, you're going to count over 32 stitches. Put this stitch marker on the 32nd stitch. And if you count the stitches over here between these two stitch markers, it should equal 20, okay? All right, we're going to begin on this side. So insert your hook in the stitch after the stitch marker. I'm going to attach your yarn, join your yarn. All right, I'm going to chain 2. And I'm going to half double crochet the first 2 stitches together. So I'm going to yarn over, pull the yarn through, yarn over again, insert my hook into that next stitch, pull the yarn through, yarn over, and then I'm going to pull through all of those loops on my hook. Okay. Now, so we had 20. We're going to do decreases at the beginning, at the end. So that's 2 and 2. So 20 minus 4 is 16. So I'm going to half double crochet once in 16 stitches. One, so 13, 14, 15, and 16. Now, I should have mentioned this just now. You guys are going to be doing the exact same thing on the other side on your own. I'm only showing you how to make this half of the strap. So just a quick, it's going to be, the straps will come up from each side and meet in the middle, okay? So you're going to just maybe write down the instructions for the second one or take a note of the time and then just rewind the tutorial. But we did a half double crochet 2 stitches together. Then we did half double crochet once in 16 stitches. So my 2 remaining stitches here, you know, before that stitch marker, I'm going to half double crochet those together. And insert my hook, pull that yarn through, yarn over, insert my hook into the next stitch, pull through, and then pull through all of those loops. Okay, turn your work. Now we're going to be working back in the other direction that we just came from. So chain 2, and again you're going to half double crochet those first 2 stitches together. So we just went from 20 to 18. 18 minus 4 is 14. So we're going to half double crochet in the 14 stitches that come after this. So 1, oops, 2, let me count. Okay, so this first stitch is where I did my decrease, where I did half double crochet 2 together. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Perfect. And then those remaining 2 stitches there, I will half double crochet together. Sometimes the stitch on the end can be kind of hard to work through, or work into. Here we go. Okay. Again, you're going to turn, chain 2. So now we have 16 stitches minus 4, so that's going to be 12 stitches in the middle. So chain 2, half double crochet your first 2 stitches together, and then you're going to half double crochet in 12. Okay, so I have 2 stitches remaining. I'm going to half double crochet those together. Okay, so now I have 14 stitches. All right, I'm going to chain 2 and turn. I'm going to half double crochet those first 2 stitches together. I'm going to crochet or half double crochet once in 10 stitches. Okay, and then in those last 2 stitches, you're going to half double crochet them together. Okay, go ahead and chain or turn, chain 2. You're going to half double crochet the first 2 stitches together. Then I think you're going to work into 8. 2, 4, 6, yeah. So half double crochet 8. Okay, and then you're going to half double crochet those last 2 stitches together. Okay, turn your work, chain 2, half double crochet those first 2 together, and you're going to half double crochet in 6. Okay, half double crochet those last 2 stitches together. Okay, turn your work, chain 2, half double crochet those first 2 stitches together. You're going to half double crochet in 4. And then you're going to half double crochet those last 2 stitches together. Okay, turn your work, chain 2, and from here on out we're going to half double crochet once in each stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and what you're going to do is you are going to continue crocheting. Let me turn this around. Back and forth, the same that we just did here. So you're going to have 6 stitches in all of the remaining rows. And measuring from the last round of the bag, so from here, from this round, you are going to continue until it reaches approximately 17, 18 inches, okay? You're going to keep doing the same thing. So it's just going to be a long, narrow strip. You're going to repeat exactly the same thing on the other side. And then I'm going to come back and show you how to crochet, how to attach the strap in the middle, okay? So keep going back and forth, 1 half double crochet in each stitch until it reaches 17, 18 inches, and then do the exact same thing from this side, and then I'll show you how to attach your strap together and how to weave in your ends. Okay guys, so here I have my 2 straps now. Now this strap is the proper length. It's about 17, 18 inches long. This one is not, but I ran out of my gray yarn. I mean, I guess I could do a little bit more here, but I wanted enough for sewing. But I don't have enough gray yarn to go all the way up to 18 inches. So I'm just going to show you right now how you would finish this off. So let's say both my straps were now at 18 inches. What you're going to do is you're going to line up the stitches from both ends and make sure that you can either have the seam on the outside, or if you want it on the inside, you could fold them in and do this from the other side. But make sure they're both facing the same way, okay? So we have our 6 stitches. So you're going to take your hook with whatever last stitch you made and then insert it through that first stitch on the piece that it's attached to, and then also through the same corresponding stitch on the other strap. And then whatever working yarn you were just using, you'll continue to use that. Pull the yarn through, pull up, yarn over, and you're making just a single crochet. You can do the same thing in that next set of stitches. Make sure you go through both loops of both stitches. And you just do that once in each of the 6 stitches. I'll have to tighten that up after. There we go. Okay, so now you single crocheted your 2 pieces together. So now all you have to do is, actually you can pull this through, tighten that. You'll just tie these 2 pieces off here, and then you'll weave in your ends, and I would just weave them in on the underside so that they don't peek through. And then you have your market tote and you're all done. And this was a really fun project. I hope you guys enjoyed this. So I'm still trying to come out with one crochet tutorial per week. I will do more if I can, but at a minimum one. And also one crochet pattern every week. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell. And if this video was helpful for you, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Thanks, guys.